Hey, welcome to my last 2.1 effect tutorial, and this time it's a really special one for me because it's a big effect for me. It's the most advanced effect I've ever discovered, and I've used it in boxing boxes, and I wanted to do this effect tutorial after I'm done with boxing boxes. It was that scale plus rotate effect I did in boxing boxes, and I also did it for some other example which will be showcasing on the screen right now. So, to understand that effect, we have to talk about a few different things. First, we need to understand how we will do it. We will do it using a vector, using vectors. Like we will use vectors. We need a Vx and a Vy vector, and each point on the plane, on the 2D plane, has coordinates, an x coordinate and a y coordinate. Now, if we can just modify these two vectors however we want, we can change that grid that we see, and all the points will also move with these two vectors. So we just need to find a way to rotate and scale these vectors. Now that we have the theory, how do we do that? As you may know, it's not possible to use moves and rotates at the same time because it just messes up everything. So we need to find a way to use rotate triggers as move triggers. And for that, we have a really simple trick using just some geometry. As you can see, if you have two arms like that, with one anchored here and another one anchored here, if you have the second angle B, which is -2 times the first angle A, the final dot will move on that straight line. Right now it's a bit buggy because it's also following player X, but for the final effect we won't have that problem. When you use rotates as move, you can just rotate the thing and move it on the straight line while it's rotating. Now we can finally start doing the final effect, putting everything together. First, we need to start with our rotate move setup. For that, you need the vector, the first center and the second center. The first center will be group 1 for me. These two parts need to rotate around that center. So we give them a group, for me it's 2, rotates around 1. And now this object needs to rotate around this dot. So we give this group 3, and this one group 4. And group 4 rotates around group 3. Okay? Now we need to do that for the other part. Putting it like that, but you can start to put it over there. So these two will rotate with that same group. We need to make this object rotate around this object. So 5 around 6. Okay. Now, as we saw earlier, the first rotate needs to be some angle for this 30, and this one needs to be -2 times that angle. So -60, and with that we have our setup where the vectors can expand. And since they are working only with rotate triggers, we can add a new group to all of this and make the whole thing rotate around the center. For example, as you can see, it works fine, and we can combine both of these. You can see it works as it should. That's some visual bug. if you focus only on the vectors, so these triangles, you can see it works just fine. Now, we will see how to do a shape with only the dots. It's the first part to understand. So let's say we want to make a square. This square will be we'll have our square like that. We need to put our center. This is the center. It will have coordinates 0, 0. For this, so this point will be coordinates 1, 1. We can give each one of them a group. Make sure you keep in mind which group is the x vector and which one is the y vector. I remember that for mine Vx was 4 and Vy was 5. Keep them somewhere just in case you don't forget them, because for all your shapes you will need these two vectors. So this one dot 8 is 1 time x and 1 time y. So dot 8 is 1 time vector x, so 4, and 1 time the vector y, so 5. Our group 9 is 1 time x and minus 1 time y. So for the vector y, which is 5, we put minus 1. It's important that these values for each follow triggers is the same, because it will otherwise it will look not right. Now for the 10th one, it's minus 1, minus 1. Minus 1, minus 1, and the last one is minus 1, 1. And now what you have to do is put all of these at the same spot, and when you play, you need to have your follow triggers early in the level, otherwise it won't work. They need to be before the thing expands. Now when it expands, you can see that it works correctly. If you just focus. You can scale that down so that it expands less far, as you can see. As you can see, our shape scales and rotates. Now that we have that, how do we get a shape that is filled, like as you saw in boxing boxes, like my arrow? We need to start planning our shape. So for example, we want to make a shape that will be just, for example, let's start with a basic shape, which will just be just a small corner like that. We need to plan our shape with lines and all, just something that you can understand. I like to do it like that because I can just have it in the editor, but you can also do it on paper. That's what I did for the earliest ones, like the file print plus paste that you saw earlier in the video. Now we have our shape planned. We need to have also our center of rotation and scaling. We'll put it right there on top of that one. It won't be a problem. I'll put it right there. Here it's fine. Just we have more on the plus side. I like it that way. Now, we have to plan how we will do our shape. We have to do it in negative space. It's the easiest way to proceed. It will be useful for transition, like the one in Helix. It will be useful for backgrounds, like the one in boxing boxes or pirouette. And if you do it in negative space, you can also get it to shrink to 0 and go up to very far as long as there is objects to expand. We have to fill the outside of our shape with as little groups as possible. We'll do it in like that pink I prepared. We try to do it in fewer groups as possible. So you just fill out the empty space outside. This will be our first one. It will expand and cover this part of the shape. Up. You fill out the thing with as few planes as you can, yeah, because it will be more group efficient, and since it's an effect that can get pretty group heavy if you have complicated shapes, you want to always keep them simple. Now we can see that we have already two parts covered, these two outside. We just need to cover that part, because like this one will expand like that, this one will expand like that. We have to cover this, and with a simple trick that I'll show you, if you have like this thing like that with the same thing that we had over there, we can just cover up these two parts which seem a bit outside. We can just cover them like that and it will be fine. Now we have our full shape. We can start thinking and finding the coordinates of each point. This one will be group 12, group 13, and group. Yep. And the centers, like these dots, need to have a group also, because we will need to rotate the big parts around these small dots. Hop. Like you can see that it will move like that, and it will also need to rotate. This one, this pink one, 12 is on coordinate 1, 1, so we can have 12 is reminder 4 is Vx is 4, so 1 time Vx and 1 time Vy. Okay. Now this green one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it like a bit different. Like, yeah, just like that. It's a bit of an L, so we have different coordinates. So just to show it done. This green one is on 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 5. 13 is on 3, 5. And this part is on 1, 2, 3, 4, minus 4, and minus 2. So, minus 4. Minus 2. can put that start of the level. And now we need to set up our planes to rotate correctly when the base vectors will rotate. So this red one is 12 around 15. 12 around 15. Just put your group like that, and it will be the same rotations as the rotate part of the scale. This one, reminder, this one was 7. The full thing is 7. It rotates with 7. This triplet is for the scale. So this one 12 rotates around 15. Okay. 13 around 16. And 14 around 17. And now, very important, they need to be the same rotation. Simple bounce out. And with that, it's almost done. We just need to make all of the centers be at the same point, or else it won't work. They need to be set. And like that, we can see that when we play, I messed up, because I left that. When we play, we can see that our shape is messed up, because I didn't expand it far enough. But just for that, you just know that when that happens, you need to expand your parts further, so that there is no blind spot in the negative space. But for that, I will just make my my base smaller, so that it's really simple. That's just a common visual bug. You can see it works fine. It scales and it rotates. And you can do that with any shape as long as you do the planing correctly. I couldn't do it for that house, I did the planing right there. You can pause if you want. And if you want more complex shapes, like for example that one, where I want another color right there, it's just with a bit of layering. I did, that one was a small one. We have our outside, which is all in red, pink, like that. And the trick here, that green part is under that blue part, which is under that red part. And so, when you do the full setup with like all the centers and all I did earlier, it will work fine, because it will overlap and do like I showcased in my Viprint plus Paste logo submission. It's a bit more complicated, it takes a bit of time, it's an effect that needs a lot of planning, but once you have all the things set up, you can do any movement you want on that thing. Like for example, I'm gonna make all of this rotate. This is, remember, this is for the rotating part of the effect. This one is for the scaling part of the effect. I'm just showcasing. It needs to be on the same thing. It works with, and you can see that I modified it a bit later and it still works. So it's an universal setup, and so it's really powerful. You just need to take the time to set it up. So I know it was a bit complicated. If you have any questions, I will try to answer either in Discord DM, you can DM me at Ellisha, or in the comments, I will try to explain and answer. But prioritize Discord because I will be able to send videos and all. I always respond to DMs. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. See ya!